Mount Everest, legendary, dangerous, and shrouded in myth. But how much of what you've heard is actually true? Are climbers really lining up like rush hour traffic at 29,000 feet? Is the mountain littered with bodies and trash? And does having money mean anyone can reach the top? Today, we're peeling back the layers on the many myths of Mount Everest, just what people are getting wrong about the mountain, separating fact from fiction. So stick around. Some of the things that you're going to learn today might very well surprise you, and you're not going to want to miss what's coming up at the end. This one is a big one. I saved the best for last. Number one, are there really traffic jams on the summit of Mount Everest? Well, yes and no, but it's important to peel back the layers to understand just why and how seldom this actually takes place. The truth is that traffic jams do occasionally happen on Mount Everest. Here's how it happens. The main reason for the bottlenecks is that climbers are confined on a narrow summit ridge. Typically, everybody is going for the summit in May, when a clear weather window provides an opportunity for teams to get up the mountain and back down before bad weather hits. In 2019, there's this viral photograph that was seen around the world of literally hundreds of climbers on the south side of the mountain in Nepal, waiting to get to the summit. This traffic jam literally caused people to lose their lives. The fact is that the reason these traffic jams happen from time to time is some years, like 2019, there's a very short weather window, and all the climbers waiting below are anxious to get their summit bid in before the season ends. The summit season ends at the very end of the month of May, and if a weather window is held off until, say, May 16th, 17th, 18th, and in 2019, in this instance, May 23rd, everybody jumped at the opportunity because they weren't willing to take the chance that possibly that would be the one and only summit opportunity on the mountain. Which brings us to the second part of the question: can you avoid the traffic jams? Absolutely, 100%. In 2019, while we were on the north side of the mountain searching for the remains of Sandy Irvine on the 2019 Irvine research expedition, we saw all the teams of climbers moving up the mountain to put themselves in a position to climb toward the summit on May 23rd. We had a team meeting and decided we did not want to be a part of a traffic jam. We waited, we took the risk that maybe we would not even have a chance to get up to the summit, and it paid off. We had literally the mountain to ourselves. There was not another climber on the mountain, north or south. So it pays to wait, it's a lot safer, and it's a lot less crowded. Number two, anybody can climb Mount Everest if they have enough money. Well, the myth that anybody can summit Mount Everest just because they have tons of money is really not true. Certainly, it doesn't hurt to have a lot of money because it could cost you anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 and upward to get a guided expedition up the mountain. The truth is that most successful climbers have spent years and years not only training and getting themselves emotionally and mentally prepared for the expedition, but saving the money and putting it aside, getting all the equipment they will need over a longer period of time, so they're not hit with this gigantic tab that would get them on the mountain. Again, it is expensive to climb Mount Everest. There's nothing cheap about it. As we saw from Ryan Mitchell, the 19-year-old young man who had a dream to climb Mount Everest, he put aside money that he had made on his own and took the time to get to Everest under his own terms. So not everyone on the mountain is wealthy. Well, let's just take the guides, for instance. They're not paid a ton of money, nor are the Sherpa in relative terms to, say, in the United States. And also, there are a lot of people who crowdfund or get sponsorships to go and have their expenses covered by outside sources. Number three, this is a juicy one. The myth that climbers disrespectfully leave bodies behind on the mountain. The notion that climbers actually abandon their friends or other climbers on the mountain is really blown completely out of proportion. Firstly, let's take into consideration what it's like to be in the death zone on Mount Everest. It is an absolutely brutal place to be. You are on the edge of life and death. Just losing your glove or your glacier glasses is enough to literally kill you. Consider the idea that you have to breathe 4 or 5 times harder to do every single thing there. So when you're in the death zone, trying to put your boots on at Camp 4 at 8,000 meters, it's bitter cold. Your fingers are cold. You're hungry, tired, sick, headache. Just the idea of saving yourself is big enough. So in that horrible instance that one encounters an individual who has lost his or her life, it's imperative that the people around that person do everything they can to save themselves and then hopefully return to recover that body later. Many families also request that their loved ones remain where those people had fallen. However, of late, the efforts to remove and recover bodies has increased dramatically. And now in Nepal, expeditions are required to go and recover bodies of any people on their permit. Not necessarily that year, but are required to go back the following year and do everything in their power to remove that body. Which brings us to number 4, that dead bodies are used as trail markers on the climb toward the summit. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. But as you heard in number 3, there have been much greater efforts to remove the bodies from the mountain. So fewer and fewer bodies are actually visible to the people who are climbing on the mountain. Typically those who are seen on the mountain recently lost their lives, and those expeditions had not been afforded an opportunity to go recover the bodies. Yes, 335 some odd individuals have lost their lives on Mount Everest. Over 200 of those bodies do remain on the mountain. However, only a very small percentage of those bodies are actually visible somewhere that you could see it with the naked eye. Most of the others are buried in crevasses or have fallen down steep cliffs where they will never be seen again. In fact, have never been seen. There are a couple of instances, such as the gentleman referred to as Green Boots, who is on the north side of the mountain. But some years ago, as I detail in a video that I'll link in the description, his remains were moved so as not to be seen by climbers moving past him. That was in the same location as David Sharp, a climber who passed away right next to the climber referred to as Green Boots. But David Sharp, as well, as I detail in a video about him, linked in the description, was moved so as to be out of sight of other climbers. This year I did an interview with 19-year-old Ryan Mitchell, who talks about passing 2 people who had lost their lives earlier on that expedition, and he did see them and he crossed paths with them at a very close distance. Those 2 gentlemen will most likely be removed in 2025. So it is a tragic reality of the mountain. It's very, very dangerous. People lose their lives there. But the concept of using the deceased as markers is inaccurate. Number 5, Everest is unclimbable without the help of Sherpas. This is a big one, and this is what a lot of people get wrong. Let's be clear, Sherpa are invaluable element to most of the successes on Mount Everest. Whether you talk about getting all the equipment into base camp and up the mountain, right up into being guided, if you will, or helped in your endeavor to get to the summit of Mount Everest. However, it is not absolutely mandatory or necessary that you have the help of a Sherpa, let's say at least on your summit day. Some climbers do climb without the help of Sherpa support. It does make it more dangerous. Let's just face it. It's less dangerous just to have somebody nearby to assist you if something goes wrong. Number 6, the mountain is littered with garbage and bodies everywhere. While it's true that garbage has been an issue on Mount Everest, and I have a number of videos on this channel, not only about Mount Everest, but K2, that are very interesting, talking about the garbage and human waste issues on the mountain. The truth is that many people spend an inordinate amount of time and resources removing as much as they can from the mountain. However, the high number of people attempting to climb to the summit every year is bringing in more garbage than can be removed from the mountain. Another way to look at it also is that not that it makes it okay, the garbage that is on the mountain and the human waste is confined to 2 or 3 small areas on Mount Everest, which is an absolutely massive, massive mountain. These areas are limited to the camps, to base camp, which is cleaned up every year, camp 1, 2, 3, and 4. Primarily, camps 3 and 4 are where the problems occur because being in the death zone, it's so difficult just to get around up there on one's own power. So a lot of those things are left in a haste or through the carelessness of people who are there who just honestly don't give a crap, pun intended. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. In 2024, a Nepali government-funded team of soldiers and Sherpas removed 11 tons of garbage and 5 bodies from Everest. And in an awesome development, drones might help with the cleanup by carrying garbage between camps. The Chinese drone manufacturer DJI developed a heavy lifter high-altitude drone. One drone was able to carry 500 pounds of garbage per hour, which would normally take over a dozen Sherpas or high-altitude workers hours and hours and days and put a lot of people in danger. And another thing to consider is if somebody is in danger high up the mountain, oxygen bottles can be flown up to that person to help somebody who desperately is in need of a life-saving measure, such as oxygen or medical supplies. So yes, garbage is a problem, but far more people care about it than most are led to believe. And that's thanks to stricter regulations and a lot of people and expeditions collecting garbage every year on the mountain. Hey, so I just want to say real quick, if you've enjoyed this video so far, I hope you'll take a minute and hit that subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so you're notified the next time a new video comes out on Everest Mystery. And also, if you want to go a cut deeper, I have a lot of exclusive content in my member section here on this channel, or I provide that for free or paid patron levels over on patreon.com/Everest Mystery. Okay, what you've been waiting for. Number 7 and number 8. I'm smashing them together. This is a big one. Myth. The Chinese lied about summiting Mount Everest in 1960. I'm sorry to disappoint you conspiracy theorists, but the Chinese did not lie about getting to the summit in 1960. For years, there were widespread doubts about the Chinese team's claim of reaching the summit. At the time, they had no photographic proof, and many in the Western climbing communities were very unsure whether the Chinese were actually successful in their summit attempt. And that controversy lingered for many, many years. But the main evidence that started to prove the truth of the Chinese expedition in 1960 were detailed explanations of the last steps, if you will, toward the summit by the summit team in 1960 that could not have been known back then. They could not have invented such remarkable consistencies with what is known to be the summit ridge and the final steps to the summit. And Jochen Hemleb, the Everest historian, wrote that contemporary written accounts from the 1960 expedition, quote, incorporate descriptions of topographical details of the final pyramid that could only have been obtained if the party had indeed reached the top. So today it is widely believed that the Chinese did in fact reach the summit. Perhaps that's a side video of its own right someday. Which connects it to the final big myth that the Chinese were repressing information about Mallory and Irvine's fateful 1924 expedition, during which time Mallory and Irvine disappeared on June 8th, 1924. There are many out there who would like to believe that George Mallory and Sandy Irvine were successful in climbing the mountain and have speculated that perhaps the Chinese have been repressing information that they discovered on the mountain so that it would not ever be known that Mallory and Irvine were successful. Among the things the Chinese could have been repressing is that it is believed in some circles and has been researched pretty intensely on this channel that the Chinese did encounter the remains of Sandy Irvine and the camera in 1975. And when that was revealed to a British diplomat, it was said that the camera film, the development of the camera film was botched. And so we don't really know if this is true or not, because when somebody went back to speak to Pandu, the woman who summited in 1975, she claimed that she never remembered saying anything about a body or camera being discovered, which raises the antenna of those skeptics and conspiracy theorists who think the Chinese are holding back the critical information that Mallory and Irvine summited so that they could be the rightful claimants to having succeeded on the north side before anybody else did in 1960. This raises all sorts of classic cultural and geopolitical theories about why a government would go so far to repress or just not care about revealing information about what took place on the mountain when they were there, and also brings up other little myths and mysteries about, have the Chinese actually removed Sandy Irvine from the mountain? And did they go back and get George Mallory off the mountain? I'll put links to all those videos in the description. So what do you think? Make sure you let me know in the comments below. The comment section is always super interesting. Be respectful of others' comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so take some time to think it through and let us know what you believe. Thanks for being here. Do somebody a good favor. Don't ask for anything in return. Make the world a better place, one tiny step at a time. Peace be with you, my friends.